What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb, and welcome to the Rehab Christian Center Tuesday night virtual experience. I'm so honored to be here with you tonight and so grateful that you have tuned in to share with us on this Tuesday series we're about to start for Tuesdays. It's really not a series. We're going to take the next couple of Tuesdays and teach from the book of Proverbs. And obviously, we can't do that in 4 weeks, so we can't teach the entire book. But we're going to just pick, four chapters that we're led to teach the book of Proverbs throughout the month of October, on every Tuesday of October. And I want to do this because Proverbs is a book that I read daily, and it's something. If you've watched or tuned into this broadcast or my ministry at any significant point of time, you've heard me talk about the importance of Proverbs as a wisdom book and an instruction book, and always encourage people to incorporate that as a part of your daily reading. And so we're going to deal with Proverbs in 4 different chapters of Proverbs throughout the entire month of October. And was really impressed on my heart to do this. And I think this is going to be great. I think it's going to be great instruction for all of us. And I'm excited about teaching. I'm going to try to teach as much as I can, verse by verse. As much as I can, verse by verse, over these next couple of weeks on Tuesdays, because again, this is just a very powerful book in and of itself. Proverbs is a very powerful book, and there's so many nuggets and lessons we can learn. I don't have nearly enough time to be able to go through all of it and be able to share all of it the way I want to. But we're going to give you what we can over the next couple of weeks. And just so grateful you tuned in to share with us tonight. Listen, do me a favor. If you haven't done already, you start liking the video. I want you to start sharing this video with as many people as you can, and tell them to tune in. Tell them to gather themselves, get their friends, text someone. Tell them to tune in tonight. We are excited to be on, and I'm only going to be on for about 40 minutes. We're going to get right out of your way. I want to get right into the teaching tonight. We're going to be in the book of Proverbs, chapter number 4, is what we're going to teach on tonight. The wisdom of Proverbs, and we're going to be in Proverbs chapter number 4 tonight. So go ahead and put that on the screen. I want to welcome everybody from all of our networks. I see many of you saying good evening. Mother Doris, Mother Brenda, good evening. Sister Misty, so good to see all of you. And thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you have not already, like the video, share the video. But I want to welcome all of you on all of our networks for tuning in. Facebook, you can find us on Facebook, the Rehab Christian Center. Instagram, the Rehab Experience. We're on Instagram tonight, and YouTube at TheREHABCC. You can find us on all of those networks. And I want to encourage all of you to follow our networks. If you have not already, follow our networks. Let us know that you're tuned in. Fill this video up with hearts, depending on what platform you're on, and make sure you say good evening in the chat area. And of course, we want you to use the chat area to engage one another, to take notes, to share notes. We have a lot of people who work third shift, believe it or not, who work late night shifts, who actually tune in later on. They're sleeping now, and they tune in later on while they're at work, and so they can't work and be behind machines and other things and type notes and write notes. And so it is your notes, believe it or not, that helps to keep them a lot of times following along with what we say. So there's a method behind the madness. And so I want to encourage you to take notes in the chat area. You're not only being a blessing to yourself, but in doing so, you're going to be a blessing to somebody else who could get that information and be empowered by it. All right. So we're going to start tonight. We're starting this again, all of the month of October on Tuesdays. On every Tuesday of October, we're going to deal with the wisdom of Proverbs, and we're going to deal with a different proverb every Tuesday. And tonight we're going to teach from Proverbs chapter number 4. All right. I've got Proverbs chapter number 4. I need to put this up here so I don't forget. Proverbs number 4, and tonight I'm going to be teaching from the NIV. All right, I'm going to be teaching from the NIV tonight. So go ahead and get Proverbs chapter 4. If you've got a regular Bible, if you've got a smart device, whatever it is, go ahead and get Proverbs chapter number 4 and get whatever version you want to follow along in. But I want to go through this chapter and get through as much of it as I can, verse by verse, because there's great wisdom that I want to share here with you that is really here clear for us to all read and understand. But again, I always admonish people and encourage people to read a book of Proverbs, a chapter of Proverbs every single day. And today is October the 4th. And so an easy way to do it is, according to the day, read that chapter. So today you would have read Proverbs 4. And so this really fell in alignment with some personal reading that I have that I do every day. But I want to start here with Proverbs 4. Wasn't quite sure which chapter I was going to start with, and just really felt led to do this in conjunction with the day. And we'll certainly mix it up as we get to the weeks to come. All right. So I want you to type in the comments, Proverbs chapter 4. Right? I need you to do that. And I need you to take notes in the comments. We're going to give you several things that you can share as we talk about the wisdom of Proverbs. Right. Look at this. Proverbs chapter number 4 is where we are. And let's start with verse number 1. I'm in the NIV. Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 1 says, "Listen, my sons, to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding." Verse 2, "For I give you sound learning, so do not forsake my teaching." Look at verse 3. "For I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother." All right, verse number 4. I'm going to slow down in a second. "Then he taught me, and he said to me, take hold of my words with all of your heart. Keep my commands, and you will live." Now, I want to park here. In Proverbs chapter 4, verse 1 through 4, I want to park here because I find it very ironic in the hundreds of times that I've read this particular chapter, literally hundreds. I found it ironic that I noticed something that I have not really realized before. And that is that in verse number 1, Solomon says, "Listen to a father's instruction." A father's instruction. You already know I'm going to keep it 100. That's what I do. So we're going to keep it honest and 100 and a buck with you. But I don't think it is odd that Solomon talks about listening to a father's instruction. I want to highlight and lift up really quickly and remind you of the critical importance of a father providing instruction to his children. I think one of the great reasons why we see so many challenges in our society as a whole is due to the disconnect in many families between a father and that father's children. And when there is a disconnect between a father and his children, there is a missed opportunity for necessary instruction that's critical to living a solid life. I know for those of you that are single mothers, I am not minimizing the work you do. I am not minimizing the sacrifice that you make. I am not minimizing the things that you do for your sons and for your daughters as single mothers. But I want you to hear me, and I need you to hear me well. A mother will never be able to instruct a child like a father. I know some of you don't agree with that. Some of you are going to get upset with me. Some of y'all are going to hit my inbox and want to argue and debate with me. That's fine. But I want to say this again. As great as you are as a mother, there are some things that you will never be able to instruct your child in as well as that instruction coming from a father. Which is why I believe in Proverbs 4, verse 1, when he starts off and Solomon says, "Listen, my son, to a father's instruction." He does not even mention the mother until verse number 3. And in verse number 3, he says, "I too was a son to my father, still tender, and cherished, loved, adored by my mother." I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this. I don't want to spend a lot of time here because we've got a lot of ground to cover here in the next 30 minutes. But let me just say this. Let us not discount or minimize the impact of the roles that have been designed for a woman to play in a child's life and for a man to play in a child's life. This is why on Mother's Day, I don't walk up to women and say, Happy Father's Day. Even if you are a single mother, even if you are taking care of your children, even if you are providing for your children, you're leading your children, you are instructing your children, and you're having to do all of this on your own. I think it is an amazing thing. And you should not only be praised on Mother's Day, you should be praised every single day. But make no mistake about it, the instruction of a mother will never be that of a father, and the instruction of a father will never be that of a mother. So let's not get the roles crossed up and think that because we have to do it all, that is necessarily the best way. I'm talking to those of you, those of us that are single parents, divorced parents, whatever your status is, widowed parents, and you have to lead children in a structure on your own. Understand that as you're leading your children, regardless of your gender, you will get to a place where you realize there are some conversations as a woman that are going to be better delivered and more profoundly delivered and received from that child's father or a father-like figure if that child's father is not in their life. A man. There are some messages that are going to be better delivered and received and imprinted coming from a man. And men, you got to understand that if you're doing it alone, there are some messages to your children that are going to be better delivered, better imprinted coming from a woman. He says here, Solomon says in Proverbs 4, verse 1, listen to a father's instruction. And he says in verse number 3 that when I was young, I was cherished or loved by my mother. You know, one of the things Tiffany and I laugh about now, we laugh a lot about the things from the past. And one of the things we laugh about is, just really how kids, sometimes we try to play you. And, our kids, aren't perfect. I love my children. I absolutely adore my children. I don't think there's any secret about that. But kids will play you. Kids know who to go to when they need a hug and when they need, when they need, some extra, kisses and attention and to be coddled and cuddled. And they know who to go to when they need to be when they need to be let out of trouble. Right? When they need to be bailed out, when they need somebody to correct a child that's picking on them, or when they need someone to fix a problem that they have that they can't fix. Children are very perceptive. And I don't think it's accidental that regardless of your marital status or your status as relates to you raising your children, I don't think it's accidental that it is Solomon here that starts off and says, listen, get instruction from your daddy and get cherished or love from your mama. I know y'all don't like this. I know it's going to be hard for some of you to embrace and hear what I'm saying, because in your mind, you're thinking, I'm minimizing the work you do as a single mother. I'm minimizing the work you do as a single father. And I would never minimize the work you do as a single mother or the work that you do or have done as a single father. In fact, I honor that. I know from personal experience, it takes from personal experience an incredible amount of strength to work, to run a house, to be a single parent, to do those things. It is not easy. It is very tiresome. And some days are very stressful. So I'm not minimizing that, but understand, let us not minimize the roles that parents have in their children's lives. I want to say this to all of you. I don't care if your children are 5 or 6. I don't care if your children are 40 or 50. I want to say this to all of you. One of the greatest obligations you will have as a human being is that of parenthood. If God blesses you to be a parent, it is by far one of the greatest responsibilities he could have ever given you, greater than the calling to feed the poor, greater than a calling to preach the gospel, greater than a calling to pray for the sick, greater than a calling to work in ministry, greater than a calling to run a business. Your greatest call, if he gives it to you, if he blesses you to be a parent, your greatest call will be that of instructing and parenting your children, because there are so many seeds that we have the opportunity to plant in our children that then set them up to be the next generation that is blessed, that is healed, that accomplishes great things. So never minimize the importance of that in parenthood. Okay, good. I'm in Proverbs chapter 4. I hope this is blessing somebody. Let's look at verse number 5. And I'm going to try to go through this verse by verse. I got a lot to go and a little bit of time, but I love Proverbs. I can talk about Proverbs literally for hours because there's so much instruction here. All right. Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 5 says this. I'm in the NIV. It says, get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. And so Proverbs, Solomon says, he says, listen, if you're going to get anything, I need you to get wisdom. I need you to get understanding. Remember, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Wisdom is the information that we take in. Understanding is the information we process, right? It's not only information that we are able to clearly process, but it is also connected to an outward reflection of understanding others. We gain wisdom, we understand other people, right? And so Solomon says here, I want you to get wisdom, I want you to get information, but I also want you to get understanding, and then don't forget my words or turn away from them. Again, we can look at this in a number of ways, because in verse number 4, he says, keep my commands and you will live. And this is the thing. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but if you look at Proverbs 4, he says, then he taught me and he said to me, take hold of my words with all of your heart, keep my commands and you will live. Who is Solomon talking about when he says, keep my commands? Is he talking about God, or is he talking about his commands, his father's commands? This is interesting, because I don't know if any of you would ever admit this. I will admit that when I read this as Solomon saying, keep the commands of God. It's not talking about that. Come on, read your Bible. Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 4. Go all the way back to verse number 1 if you need to. Get the context. Solomon is not talking about God when he's talking about keeping my commands. He's talking about, as a son, he had to listen to his father's command, and his father said to him, take my words with all of your heart. Listen to me. Take my words with all of your heart. Keep my commands, his daddy, and you will live. See, most people have never read Proverbs 4 like this, because we think every time we see in this verse or in this particular chapter, keep my commands and you will live, you think Solomon's pointing back to God. He's not pointing back to God. He starts off the chapter by saying, listen, my son, to a father's instruction. Oh, this is so good. And this is why, again, I know I'm on this parent thing tonight, but I want to stay here because we keep coming back here. It is critical that Solomon is told in verse 5, get wisdom, get understanding. Don't forget my words. Don't turn away from them. And this was instruction he received from his father. This is why, again, we cannot minimize the impact of father-children relationships, mother-children relationships. We have obligations to instruct. I know y'all never read this like this, because you look in there, I see many of you in the spirit are scrolling in. Let me see where this is, because I know he was talking about the Lord in Proverbs number 4. Find it. Find where he was talking about God. He doesn't mention God. He talks about wisdom, and this is practical instruction that comes from a father. Let me tell you what's wrong with our society. Our society isn't messed up because people don't have degrees. We got a lot of smart people. There was a day, believe it or not, I'm going to date myself. There was a day where if you had a bachelor's degree, that made you competitive for a job. Y'all remember that day? In fact, I'm going to go beyond my time. There was actually a day where, believe it or not, most of us aren't even old enough to have been around at that time. But there was a day, believe it or not, that if you graduated from high school, you could be guaranteed a job. Ask your parents. I come from a place called Martinsville, Virginia. And Martinsville was a textile industry place, right? We used to have these companies called Toltecs. You all wouldn't even have an idea, unless you're from Virginia or Martinsville, what that is. Toltecs and DuPont and Bassett Furniture. It was much like, Martinsville was much like High Point in that it was very textile manufacturing based. And in those days, if you had a high school degree, you were almost guaranteed a factory job. And many of our grandparents and great grandparents did not retire from Apple and IBM. They retired from the factory. All right. They retired from the factory. Some of them finished high school. A lot of our grandparents didn't even finish high school. My grandparents did not finish high school. I think my grandfather got up to 8th grade, 6th grade. And I think my grandma got up to 8th grade on my father's side. Did not even finish high school. Right. So there was a day, believe it or not, where having a high school degree meant getting a job. Right. Then we advanced. There was a day where many of us will remember where if you got a college degree, you almost guaranteed a job, a bachelor's degree. Now that day is fading. Now you almost need a master's degree to get certain levels and types of jobs. And there will come a day where a PhD, which is what I have, is not as abnormal as it used to be. There was a day when you had a PhD, it was a really big deal. And that still is the case. Only about 3% of people across the world have a PhD. So it's a small club, but there was a day where there was a 1% club. That was a 1% club. And so the percentage is growing. What's the point that I'm getting at? As a society, we're not lacking knowledge. Okay. We're not lacking wisdom. We're not lacking what we're gaining. Let me tell you what we're lacking. What we're lacking is the instruction to know what to do with the information we got. What we're lacking is the understanding to be able to handle people and to be able to resolve problems. You'd be amazed. I work with people, I counsel people and coach people who are some of the most brilliant people on paper that you'll ever meet, but they struggle to solve everyday problems. And my grandmama, with her 8th grade education, used to say that meant they had book sense, but not a lot of common sense. Anybody ever heard that before? And so, Solomon says here, listen, get wisdom. That's good. Get the degrees, get certifications, go back to school. In fact, I want to take this opportunity to encourage those of you that are tuned in who are thinking about going back to school, who are thinking about getting certifications, who are thinking about advancing your career and doing some things to expand your career and expand the income you're able to make and the way you're able to provide for your family. Do it. Get all the degrees you can get. Lord knows I'm an advocate and a proponent of that. But while you're getting all of that wisdom, you need to get some understanding, right? Because the reality is knowledge without the understanding of the application of it will actually leave you at square A. And that's why, again, you end up engaging with a lot of people who have a lot of book sense, just don't have a lot of common sense. They don't know how to translate the book smarts to being able to make everyday decisions, right? And execute things on an everyday basis in a commonsensical, that's not a word, kind of way, all right? So get wisdom, get understanding, and look at verse number 5, the B clause. It says, do not forget my words or turn away from them. And this is so powerful. How many of you can attest the lessons that you learned from mom, from dad? Maybe mom and dad didn't raise you. The lessons you learned from your grandparents, your uncles and aunts, as little children, now as adults, those lessons stick with you, right? You may have gone through seasons of your life where you strayed away from the instruction they gave you, right? Maybe you strayed away from mama's instruction. You strayed away from your uncle's instruction. You strayed away from these things you were taught. But eventually, because life is cyclical, what goes around tends to come right back around again. Because life is cyclical, you typically found yourself in a place where the instruction you received as a kid at age 6 came in handy when you were 26. Does that make sense? Right? And so Solomon is sharing this with us, and he's saying, listen, don't forget the instruction that you've been given as a child, right? It slowly. Oh, don't remind me, Sister Ashley. Wow, you just that opened up you just created a trigger by saying that. You not only remember what your parents said, you start slowly acting like them, and then, oh, that's just a crazy thing. I'm gonna get you for that, Sister Ashley, but it's so true, like, because life is so cyclical. But Solomon says, don't forget the instruction that I've given to you, right? Don't turn from my words, right? Don't turn from the words of your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, right? Don't turn away from them. Watch this, verse number 6. Do not forsake wisdom, and she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you, right? I taught this one time before. I love how Solomon refers to wisdom as a her. And I don't want to make any of the men that I have on this call upset, but the reality of the matter is, Solomon saw something about connecting wisdom to feminine energy that's bigger than the time that I had to explain tonight. Because I believe this, that how men and how women operate in wisdom are through two totally different lenses because of who they are. Men tend to equate wisdom through logic. Women tend to equate wisdom through sensing and emotion, right? So a woman might not always, I'm gonna get in trouble saying this, a woman, you might be in an argument with a woman and be hitting her with facts, but her feelings are going to lead. I'm getting ready to get in trouble because I can feel the heat from the lives. The comments are slow. So either I'm talking really good or y'all real distracted or y'all mad. That's one of the three. But you can get in an argument with a woman, and women a lot of times, their wisdom is laced in what they feel in a situation. Don't start me, Elder Misty. It's laced in what they feel in information. And it doesn't mean that they're always wrong. Watch this. And it doesn't mean that men are always right because their arguments are laced in logic. I believe this, that in order to be wise, number one, I believe that Solomon refers to wisdom as a her, because there are some things that we become wise in through our feelings of them, right? And even take the Spirit of Christ as an example. To understand the Spirit of Christ, you don't need logic, because there's nothing logical about Jesus being born from a virgin. I feel like I'm going too deep tonight. It can be both. I think that's a great question. Is that intuition? Is it discernment? Is it a combination of both? I think it can be both. That's a great question. But I want y'all to hear me. Logic, when you hear the salvation story, Jesus being born of a virgin ain't a logical explanation. Like, because in a man's mind, somebody slept with Mary. I'm trying not to dumb this down. I don't want to dumb down the text, but you know me, I can't help but explain it in a way that you understand. Talk to any man that don't go to church. Listen to me. If you don't believe me, try this. Talk to any man that doesn't go to church, nowhere, who may not even believe in God, and say, listen, I need you to believe in Jesus because he was born from a woman who never had sex with nobody. And I want you to watch the response of that man. Because in a man's mind, that doesn't make sense because it's not logical, right? In a woman's mind, while they may attach some logic and struggle with the story from a logical perspective as well, they tend to be more along the lines of intuition, discernment, feelings, expressions of feelings through emotions. And those things are critical because the Bible says, watch, the Bible says that it is through the foolishness of preaching that people are saved. What makes preaching foolish? Well, what makes preaching foolish is this argument that a Jesus you've never seen, that was born of a virgin from a woman who never had sex, came to earth as a human form, lived in human form, died, and then rose again so that you can live. So when you preach that to the logical mind, the masculine mind, that makes no sense. To the feminine or intuitive, to the feeling mind, which is the feminine mind, it makes sense. I feel like I'm going to. Is this making sense to anybody, or am I just talking in a hole tonight? Is this making sense? And so I believe that Solomon refers to wisdom as a her, because there are some things that, while book sense can guide you, there are things I can figure out because of my training, because of my education, because of my PhD. There are things, there's certain assessments and credentials and things there are things that I can do because I have checked boxes, logical boxes that show I am qualified to do it. But listen, there are some things, some problems that even with my degrees can't solve it. It takes spirit to be able to connect with an issue, to be able to understand an issue and to solve it, which is why you don't have to have a PhD to be a preacher. You don't have to be a PhD to be in ministry. You don't have to have a PhD to be effective in ministry. Heck, you don't even have to go to seminary to be effective in ministry. Now, I'm not minimizing seminary. Seminary has its value. There are a lot of things that you learn in seminary about the Bible, about God, about yourself, that will make your preaching a whole lot better and more sound. I've had 3.5, 4 years of seminary. I understand that. But understand this, I know some people who have never gone to seminary, who never even graduated from high school. But understand this, because their spirit is so connected, they have a wisdom of God that seminary can't teach. Are y'all listening to me? They have a wisdom and an understanding of God that even seminary can't teach. And I believe that is the feminine feeling nature of wisdom, that once you have a relationship with God, there are some things you can just sense God doing that ain't logical, but you can feel it. This is good. You can feel, and because you can feel, have you ever been in a position, this is good. I'm in this spot right now, some things in my life. Have you ever been in a spot where you knew God was going to answer some prayers? Watch this. I'm going to make this crystal clear. I got to move. As y'all can see, we running out of time. You ever expected God to do some things in your life and you knew he was going to do it, right? And you prayed and you asked and then you believed and now you're postured to receive. You've done all those things. But when you look at circumstances, it ain't adding up, right? And an easy example is God make me a millionaire. You look at your bills, you making $20,000 a year. You a long way to go. You in the red in your bills, your car upside down. You got all of this stuff, right? Logically, if you look at the prayer, it ain't going to make sense. But have you ever had one of those prayers where you prayed and said, I know God's going to do this for me? And you looked at the circumstances and logic said it didn't make sense? Watch. But you sensed in your spirit that your prayer connected with the God you prayed to. That's the wisdom, that is the her that Solomon is referring to in Proverbs 4. Man, this is heavy. Is this making y'all fill it up with hearts? Talk back to me. That's the wisdom, that is the her that Solomon's referring to, because there are going to be seasons in your life where the math ain't going to be mathing. Am I talking to anybody? Has anybody ever been in a season, whether it was financially, in your career, in your relationships, in your what? The math just won't math it. Right? It just won't add up. That what you were believing for and what you saw, or what you were believing for and what you had, or what you were believing for and what you were dealing with, it just won't math it. And so logic ain't going to get you out of that. What's going to get you out of it is what you can sense in your spirit. I prayed for it. I asked God for it. I have believed that he answered it. I'm positioning myself for him to answer. And now I can't lean on my understanding, but I've got to lean on what I sense the Spirit is saying that He's going to answer concerning my life. Anytime you are moving, anytime you are moving in a space in your life for answer prayer against logic, and all you got is a feeling that it's going to work, you are moving in a feminine energy called wisdom. This ain't even in my notes. Anytime you are in a space where you are believing for something that is against logic, but your spirit is telling you, I'm going to work this out. I'm going to work this out. This is going to work. You are moving in a feminine space called wisdom. And this kind of wisdom that Solomon refers to as a her is a wisdom that's bigger than your understanding. It is bigger than your logic. Watch. And it's even bigger than the facts, because it takes spirit to believe that the God you serve did not come out of the womb of a woman, but was sent on earth from a God you ain't never seen. And you got to be able to sense that. So when you feel the presence of God, where was I? What's today? Tuesday. Was it Sunday? I was riding back from the airport and I was listening to a song that came on the radio, and I felt God's presence drop on me in my car. And it was so heavy because the words of the song and some elements of my life weren't matching. Y'all, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. I hope y'all catching this revelation. The words of the song and some elements of my life, what the words of the song that were encouraging me, and some elements of my life just weren't matching. So what was that overwhelming thing that overtook my spirit driving down I-85 Sunday morning, that overtook my spirit, where what I was hearing was not matching what I was seeing? And that is the Spirit and the presence of God. I'm here to tell you, He's referring to wisdom as the thing that will protect you. Verse 6, do not forsake wisdom. She will protect you. Love her. She will watch over you. Because when logic says you ain't safe, the Spirit of Christ, if it's inside of you, will give you peace when you're in the middle of something that doesn't feel safe. Are y'all listening to the old man tonight? It is the Spirit of God that will give you peace in the middle of something where you don't feel safe. And so when Solomon says, don't forsake wisdom because she'll protect you, that implies to us that sometimes you're going to be in positions where life doesn't feel safe, where circumstances don't feel safe. Don't lean on what you see. Don't lean on the logic. You got to lean on what you sense in your spirit, that God is covering you, He's carrying you, and He's protecting you. Is this making sense? Y'all, let me give y'all 2 more verses. I got to stop. No, 3 more verses. I got to stop. I'm out of time. This is good. Look at verse number 7, Proverbs 4:7. Look at this. It says, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, though it costs all you have. Get understanding. So Solomon said, listen, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, even if it costs you everything you got. And I'm here to tell you, when you sense things in your spirit, right? Go back to hear the explanation I just gave you. When you sense things in your spirit and what you sense is not matching logic, you're going to pay for it. Can I help y'all? Let me just make this thing personal. Thank you, Sister Ashley. This thing is really good. Let me just make this personal. I want to say this again slow. When what you sense in your spirit does not match what you see and what other people see, there's a price to pay. Y'all, I've been talking about a building since April. Let me just make this part. Let Pastor testify. I've been talking about a building since April, and I've been saying, God gonna come through. God gonna come through. God gonna come through. Been logging every Sunday, logging in every Tuesday, pre-record, doing all this stuff, working behind the scene. God gonna come through. God gonna come through. Remain consistent. And guess what, y'all? The logic ain't changed much. What you see ain't changed much. And if I'm not careful, I could get discouraged by what I see. Solomon says in verse number 7, when you lean on wisdom, when you lean on what your spirit is sensing you, you're going to pay for that. There's a price to pay. People going to think you're crazy. People going to think you crazy when you leave the doctor's office and he says it looks like cancer. But you leave the doctor's office and you say stuff like, but with his stripes, I'm already healed. There's a price to pay because people gonna look at you like, what's wrong with you? People gonna think you crazy when you walk away from the job and the career that you grew up in to start a new career or to start a business with limited resources, limited support, and all you got is a vision and a dream and a goal. People gonna look at you and think you're foolish. Why? That's the cost you gotta pay. So Solomon makes it clear here. Get wisdom and understand that sometimes when you get the sensing that God's going to do it and it is against logic, it's going to cost everything you got. Look at verse number 8. He says then, cherish her. Cherish wisdom, and she will exalt you. So cherish what you sense God doing and watch God exalt you through that. Watch this. Verse number 8. Embrace wisdom. Don't pass wisdom off. Don't shun wisdom. Don't say this ain't for me, but embrace what you sense in your spirit, God teaching you, God showing you. Watch. And she is going to honor you. I'm here to tell you, there's never been a time. I want y'all to record this right now. This is the only note I'm going to give you tonight. There's never been a time I've counted on God and he didn't work it out. Somebody need to type that in the comments and make it personal. There has never been a time, I'm talking about me, his track record's undefeated. There has never been a time where I have counted on God and he didn't work it out. May not have worked it out when I wanted him to. He may not have worked it out at the moment I asked him to do it, but I'm here to tell you, there has literally never been a time where I needed God to work something out and counted on him to work something out, that he not only didn't work it out, but he worked it out better than I ever imagined it could have been worked out. Now unto him, Bible, that's able to do exceeding and abundant above all we can ask or think, which implies to us that you can ask God to fix it one way, but he'll fix it 10 times better and open up doors that you never even imagined that are greater than what you asked for. There has literally been never a time where I've counted on God and he didn't work it out. And I want to tell somebody this tonight. I don't care what you're dealing with, what you're going through, what you're facing in your life, what's up against you, what's up against your family, what's up against your career, what's up against your finances, what's up against your anointing, what's up against your children, what's up against your business, what's up against your health, what's up against your parents, what's up against your siblings, what's up against your spouse, what's up against your relationships, what's up against your friendships, what's up against your future. There is nothing that I have ever counted on God to do that he did not work it out. Not one time. And somebody, pastor needed to, I'm teaching to y'all, but I'm even teaching to myself. I needed this word tonight. Somebody needs to be encouraged tonight through this message to know God ain't forgot you. He has not forgot you. Embrace, look at verse number 8. Embrace wisdom, cherish her, exalt, she will exalt you. Embrace her, she's going to honor you. Look at verse number 9. She will give you a garland to grace around your head. In other words, she will put wisdom. When you embrace wisdom, wisdom will put will make a king and a queen and a prince and a princess out of you. You know those garlands you wear to the prom and for your birthday and all those things. Solomon says, if you embrace wisdom, I'm going to put one of them on your head. I'll elevate your status. I'll elevate who you are. Look at this. Verse number 9, and present you with a glorious crown. And sometimes you are positioned in life where you have to embrace and go against the grain of what you see. Go against the grain of what is happening and say, God, in spite of the circumstances and in spite of what I'm being presented with in my everyday living, I'm choosing to believe your wisdom. The old folks used to say it like this: whose report will you believe? Joshua said it to the people. Listen, y'all scared, but let me ask y'all something. Whose report are you going to believe? Because the report of God is a different kind of wisdom. It ain't a logical wisdom. It's a wisdom that you sense in your spirit. Why? Because you know his spirit lives in you. You know he's working for you. You know it doesn't matter what you pray for, he will answer it. But more than that, y'all, there's a handful of us that are up against some things, watch, that's in uncharted territory, that have not been presented before. And the only proof we have that God's going to do it is that he's proven himself before. And so I need you to embrace that wisdom. Y'all, I'm out of time. I got to stop. I'm over. This bless anybody? Would y'all be mad? I didn't even think about this. I had something else I wanted to go a different direction. I wanted to go in Sunday. Would y'all be mad if I picked up here Sunday and finished Proverbs 4? Would y'all be upset? Would y'all be offended? I'm really feeling a strong leaning to pick up here Proverbs 4, verse number 10, because Proverbs is such an intense, it's an intense chapter if you really study it. It's an intense chapter. I think I want to do that. I can take that back. I feel like I'm being led. I want to do that. Because this is too heavy, and I want to go into a different Proverbs next Tuesday. So maybe the month of October, Sundays and Tuesday, will just be all Proverbs. We can do that. I believe in being led by the Spirit of God, and so let's do that. We will pick up. Let me make a note here, because I don't want to get lost, man. This is woo. Was this a lot tonight? Was this not a lot? Was this not a lot tonight? We will pick up with Proverbs 4. Verse number 10 on Sunday. We will continue the wisdom of Proverbs, and we will just expand this throughout the month of October, because this was a powerful word tonight, and I hope it bless you. Listen, y'all, I want to pray for you quickly. I'm way over time. Oh man, this is so good. Somebody needs to go back and rewatch this and really get an understanding on this understanding of males and logic, women and wisdom, and how that relates to how we see life and how we expect answered prayer. That was powerful. That wasn't even my notes. That was the Lord really speaking to us tonight. We needed to hear it. Listen, you got a prayer request? I'm giving you 20, 30 seconds now. Type in your prayer request. Would you do that? If you've got a prayer request, I want you to know I am up. I've taken 2 weeks off of working out, but I'm back up now. I didn't take off getting up, but I definitely took out 2 weeks of working out, and I'm back up now working out, and I'm up at 4:28 every morning praying over your prayer request. So if you've got a prayer request, I want you to type it in the comments tonight. We cannot see it. You can email it to us at info@rehabcc.org and put in the subject line prayer requests. That's info@rehabcc.org and put in the subject line prayer requests. My friend, I want to pray with you. I want to pray with you this week. I want to pray for whatever it is that you're dealing with, that you're facing, that God might answer your prayers in a tremendous way. Listen, I believe this, that the quickest way to get your prayers answered is to pray for somebody else, right? And so I want you to lift it up. Good. I see the prayer requests starting to come in. You got to understand that the quickest way to get your prayers answered is to pray for somebody else. And so I want to pray for you. Selfishly, I want to pray for you all week long. And so type in that prayer request. Doesn't matter what it is, what it's about. If it's about your job, your health, your career, your family, your church, your ministry, your business, your school, your children, whatever. you to type it in, or you can email it to us at info@rehabcc.org. We want to pray for you all week long. We believe that the effectual, fervent prayer of the righteous avails much. Listen, y'all, connect your hands like this is a sign symbol of faith. Wow. I ain't even put the logo up on the screen tonight. This was just a powerful message tonight. And I can't wait to teach some more of this on Sunday. We're going to get through all of Proverbs 4 Sunday. And I am excited about doing this. I'm excited. All right, y'all, connect your hands like this is a sign of symbol of faith. Let's pray. Father, in Jesus' name, thank you tonight for your word. Thank you for this time of gathering you've given us, of sharing you've given us. Thank you for speaking to us through your word. I pray this prayer that somebody was set free, that somebody was healed, somebody tonight received incredible clarity through your word, through this book of wisdom tonight, Proverbs 4. God, it's my prayer that this word might stick to somebody's spirit throughout the entire week. And as we go to work and as we engage with others, as we go from space to space and location to location, that your word might be hidden in our heart, that we might not only not sin against it, but that we might be led in the direction and the path that you would have us to go. Now, God, I pray this prayer that not only this word would stick to someone's spirit, but that so that every prayer request that has been lifted up to you, that you would answer the prayers of your people, that you would make ways as only you can, that you would open doors as only you can, that you would meet needs. God, somebody today really needs a prayer answered. Somebody today really needs a miracle from you. Somebody really needs an answered prayer in the face of logic that doesn't make sense. God, I pray now that tonight that you would send clarity as a result of this word, that you would send clarity all week long. God, as we continue to trust you, as we continue to depend on you. God, I even pray selfishly tonight that even through the fasting that I was involved with today, that somebody's prayer might be expedited because of sacrifice. God, we know you honor sacrifice. And so it is my prayer selfishly and publicly that you would expedite the prayer request of somebody because of the sacrifice we made to you today. That God, you would answer somebody's prayer, that you would heal somebody's body, that you would give somebody better test results, that you would bring somebody's son out of prison, that you would touch somebody's daughter, that you would heal somebody's marriage, that you would fix somebody's relationship, that you would fix somebody's broken heart, that you would correct somebody's career, that you would make a way out of no way. Because God, we have offered you the sacrifice of prayer and praise. God, we count it done, and we believe you this week for a week that is filled with miracles, open doors, made ways, expected manifestations in our lives. We count these things done in Jesus' name. Amen. Do me a favor. I want you to type in the comments quickly. It is so. If you prayed that prayer of faith, I want you to type it quickly. It is so. It is so. It is so. Hurry, y'all. It is so. It is so. God's answering prayers. He's making ways. He's opening doors. He's meeting needs. And I'm so excited about that tonight. It is so. Hurry, 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 hurry. It is so. Listen, if this ministry has been a blessing to you, I want to challenge you quickly to give tonight. Quickly. You can give one of three ways. You should see it on the screen. You can give via Cash App, $REHABCC give. You can give through our website, www.rehabcc.org, and simply choose online giving. Or you can text REHABWorks to 336-642-3210. Again, that's really quickly. You can give your tithe, sow an offering seed tonight. Cash App, $REHABCC give. Website, www.rehabcc.org. Or simply text REHABWorks to 336-642-3210. And I promise you, if you give either one of those ways, God will bless you in a tremendous way. Good measure, pressed down, shaking together and running over. Listen, y'all, I'm out of time, not out of word. I love you. Make plans to join me this Sunday. We will be back on all of our networks. I can't wait to see you. And make plans to join me this Sunday for part 2 of Proverbs chapter 4. We're going to pick up here. My notes are going to be all over the place trying to keep track with Tuesdays and Sundays now. I don't know what we have gotten ourselves into, but I know this one thing. I need you to share this message tonight. I need you to share this broadcast tonight because I really believe the presence of God met us tonight. And I believe the presence of God is going to meet us again on Sunday, 9:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at the Rehab Christian Center. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. I'm praying for y'all and the thing y'all can do about it. I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. And I want you to have an amazing week. And if all goes well, we will plan to see you this Sunday at 9:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love you, praying for you, rooting for you. Have a fantastic week. Peace and blessings.
For watching the Rehab Christian Center live experience. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you and you would like to be a blessing to our leader, Dr. Zeb Talley III, you can sow a seed into his ministry by Cash App at $Pastor ZT3. It is our prayer that this message of hope encourage, enlighten, and empower you to be better. Please tune in Sunday at 9:08 a.m. for our Sunday morning experience. And as always, be blessed and have a wonderful week.